Mahatma Gandhi's life ended about the same time mine began, but his influence and his importance is very much alive 76 years later. We are living in a time of heartbreaking violence, whether in the world news from the Middle East or Ukraine and other places, or on our local streets in the mistreatment of people afflicted with poverty and homelessness. We could slip into thinking that the law of this world is that the strongest are the winners. When that's what I sense, I appreciate being able to pause and find hope in the example of Gandhi and his teachings, of treating others as I would want to be treated. And he also calls me back to the necessity of refusing to ignore or permit people to be treated in any other way, no matter how uncomfortable or even threatening it might be. His quiet model of deep commitment to nonviolence helps me focus on the importance of respecting every person as holding the spirit of the Creator.
In university, we come to terms with the reality of the world, and I remember the very first thing that we learned was that the world that we live in is very Hobbesian. The idea that before the contract of our nations, there was the natural condition of humans. And it was a condition of competition and violence, and life in general was short, nasty, and brutish. But when I began to read the history of the Gandhians, I came to realize that essentially it's a saga of Satyagraha. For decades now, the Gandhians have stood tall against the Hobbesian model, and instead they've pushed forth this idea of Prakriti, or the natural spirit. And with Prakriti, the idea is that there is a natural condition, but it's a condition where there's a natural contract between humans and nature, and it's a condition of cooperation and service-oriented thinking.
Gandhi saw nonviolence and truth as inseparable and presupposed to one another. He stated that we may never be strong enough to be entirely nonviolent in thought, word, and deed, but we must keep nonviolence as our goal and make strong progress towards it.
We have to particularly listen to those who have different experiences and ideas from our own. We have to be open, but not to be blown off our feet. What he meant by that was that if somebody is saying something to you, listen deeply. Try to understand what they're saying, particularly if you disagree with them. Don't try to convince them of your perspective, but try to understand theirs. But, he would say, if their perspective would do harm to the planet or to beings in the planet, then it goes against ahimsa. If their perspective goes against ahimsa, then it is not a correct perspective, and therefore it's not one that we have to accept. That doesn't mean we don't accept the person. The person, of course, is part of our universe, that we should treat them with love. But it does mean that we don't have to accept those ideas. Every idea, every action should be judged on the principle of ahimsa. My involvement with the Gandhi Foundation allows me to work on this goal, on these goals that I have, to live through ahimsa.
I try to use the principles of nonviolence to guide me in my day-to-day life. For example, when I was a classroom teacher, I taught my students the idea of ahimsa, and I translated in ahimsa to them as being kind in what you think, what you say, and what you do.
What I try to do is, in my dealings with family or friends and others in work and other situations, I try to practice these principles. So basically it's possible to disagree with someone without being disrespectful, to meet tolerance with tolerance if the other person is angry or agitated, and basically just take the higher road of nonviolence. So it is a challenge constantly, but it's a principle that I strive to implement.
As committed as I am to peace and justice and ecological sustainability, I know I fall short of attaining these goals probably every day. I don't recycle everything I should recycle. I don't compost everything I should compost. Those might seem like trivial examples, but the small things add up. It's important to focus on all of those small steps, because it is through those small steps that we will eventually achieve the goals that we want to achieve.
We need Gandhi today. We need to be voices warning of the deadly 7 social sins as he did. We need to be people who take a stand against forces that hurt others. We need to connect with each other, to encourage and support each other as we seek to live by Gandhi's message. We need to find like-minded people and nourish each other.
I'm reminded of the hymn, "Let there be peace on earth and let it begin with me."
We all can be a part of change, even just taking very small steps.
We will not be doing large, dramatic things as Gandhi did, but the small choices we make, hour by hour in our own communities, to stand for human rights, for love and peace, against discrimination and violence. That will be taking his truth forward and will make a positive difference, whether we see the evidence of it or not.
I think that the message of Gandhiji, the message of nonviolence, of ahimsa, is perhaps even more relevant today than it has ever been. And that is why I am with the Gandhi Foundation, and I encourage everyone to find your own way to work towards this kind of world.
अहिंसा सत्य अस्तेय ब्रह्मचार्य असंग्रह शरीर श्राम अस्वाद सर्वत्र भयवर्जन सर्वधर्म समानत्व स्वदेशी स्पर्श भावना विनम्र व्रत निष्ठा से ये एकादश सेव्य है। ओम शांति शांति शांति।